Record Store Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Fraser. And on the Record Store Podcast, the theme of the record store has a double meaning. In reality, a record store is a place of discovery and a safe space where creativity thrives as people open themselves up to new ideas through community. Everyone has their own place like a record store that they find solace in. I'll deep dive with my guests into what place is special for them, how it's molded their lives, and we'll just see where the conversation goes. Whether you are a musician, a DJ, a comedian, a writer, a designer, whatever you are, we all have our own record store. On this episode, we were joined by Angelo and Brian McClelland of the Seattle hardcore punk band Filth is Eternal. We discussed their experiences in the music industry, including their time on Church Road Records, along with their latest album, Find Out, released via Monarch Heavy. They share their perspectives on the Seattle music scene and the role of art stores in inspiring their creativity, as well as their approach to finding balance and a fresh perspective in their music. We also talk about the progression and growth they have experienced as musicians, the creation of their new album, the impact they hope to have on their audience through their music and live performances, and their advice for artists and musicians. So, without further ado, let's get into this interview with Angelo and Brian McClelland of Filth is Eternal. Okay, I'm here with Angelo and Brian McClelland of the Seattle hardcore punk band Filth is Eternal. They have a new album out called Find Out, released recently via Monarch Heavy. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having us.
We're doing really well, and yeah, thank you for having us. We're stoked. We're about to hit the road. We're pumped. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm pumped because like the bands that I like. I'm like I almost expect not to see, and you guys are gonna come through Detroit, because like I like these bands that they have they probably have trouble touring, and because touring is really hard, and a lot of them are like bands that I like are overseas, and I'm never gonna see them on stateside because they're smaller bands. And then, but you guys are on stateside, so I'm like, okay, great. Okay, when am I gonna see them? And then I was like, oh, nice, like they're going on tour with the Darkest Hour, and I'm like, yes.
I know, we're really excited. We're hitting so many places that, to your point, we've haven't toured. We've toured a lot, but like, it's mostly been West Coast. And then we had an East Coast tour.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of East Coast touring, but it's always those connecting ones, getting to see friends in the Midwest where it's like we don't always get that time. Or in the South, sometimes it's tough for us to get down there with routing, but it's always fun to connect and see people in all the cities. So we're excited.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to hit places we've never hit before.
Yeah, and how I came across Filth is Eternal is that I'm a big fan of the record label Church Road Records. And
oh, they're so cool.
I own everything on that label, like physical. And so I came across Filth is Eternal, and then I just, like always with everything on that label, I go, just researching everything else about the band, So I got the fucking Bound record, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I was just like, I'm like, okay, great. Then you guys have a new album out, Find Out, that came, and you guys got signed for that record. And I was like, oh, dude, this is awesome. All right. But, before we get into the record store stuff, like, how did you first get, linked up with Church Road Records to, put out that record? Because I know you put it out with, it was kind of like a dual thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Quiet Panic.
When we were working with Quiet Panic here stateside, we got connected. Our manager, Mike Messina, said, hey, we had this new album ready. We had Love is Alive, Filth is Eternal ready to go. And Mike Messina, our manager, said, hey, I've got this label, Quiet Panic. We'd be down to put it out. So they put it out for us. And we were looking at trying to connect, in the UK and overseas in Europe and get a release together there. And he said, hey, I know like these awesome people, and got us connected with Church Road. So we got to meet Justine and everyone over there, and it all worked out. It was great. We got to connect with them. And we just recently in November got to go over and see them in person and got to connect finally after a couple of years of, putting that record out and talking a
See?
lot online. And, yeah, it was really amazing. It was great to meet them.
How did you guys link up with Monarch Heavy to put out Find Out?
Yeah, I think that the relationship was sort of between Mike Messina, who he does both. He's a manager and he also has a label, and yeah, I think he has a deep friendship with the guys over there and the homies at Monarch, and then I think he has a couple bands that are already a part of the roster too that he
Yeah.
manages. And so, I think that's what happens is you have relationships with several people. And he just thought, there was like a few different places that would have made a really good home,
Yeah.
we think. I mean, it was just like comparing apples and oranges really at the end of it. But yeah, we just love the Monarch crew, the team. It feels really natural and chill. Everybody's, I don't know, they're just so easy to talk to, and they're very helpful. Anytime you need anything, you just shoot them a line. They're always like on it immediately. So
Yeah, Monarch was, they had signed a couple of our friends' bands and things like that. So it kind of made sense. We were about at that stage of our career as far as on our third record. They were interested. We had sort of established our touring. We had our booking set up. So connecting with them just really made sense. It helped us both play to our strengths as Monarch's, capability as a label, and then what we could do as a band. It worked really well together.
yeah,
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Going back to the Church Road thing, it was just like with a label like that, it's almost like a family tree where I start with one thing and then I go down to the other artist and then go down to the other artist. Next thing I know, I'm like a nerd. That's why that's why with you, I was asking you. I'm like, do you still have any of the old cassettes or 7 inches for Fucked and Bound or any of the
Oh
other
yeah.
bands? Because I'm like, I want because I'm like, well, while there's people out there that will like collect every like Prince bootleg or something, I'll like
Yeah.
collect everything from a small band,
Yeah.
a new up and coming band, and I'll be like, oh, they got like a live cassette. Oh, I want it.
Yeah.
If I missed out on it, and usually, and also the ones that so like when I get into a band when they're active with it, I'll buy all their little 100 or like 50 quantity cassettes and stuff.
the stuff that goes deep. Yeah, what when on this tour, Brian, what are we bringing? That is, are we bringing any like F&B?
Rare stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, I was going to dig up. We found a small stock of Love is Alive, Filth is Eternal test presses. So there was a handful of,
Oh,
we did a
nice.
run of like 30 of the test presses that just it has the main heart logo on the front. So it's like a black on black, black sleeve, black paper inner jacket, black record, black label.
I think I
Just has
saw.
that logo.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it when I was going to like the social media, you guys'
Yeah.
social media. I saw a picture of that. That looks really sweet.
I actually found that like we did a press of 30 of those, but then we did an even smaller press that was a friends and family. There's only 10. And I think the band we took our 4 and then someone got like the 5th one. I think we have the 6th one was on hold, but then we have, I think 3 copies of our friends and family. Very rare, like only 10 that we ever made for that Love is Alive, Filth is Eternal album. I found a stack of those. So those are going to be with us at merch as well.
Okay.
Real rare.
See right here. This is the stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Is is the merch? It's the merch. Um, is I see in the past that you released stuff under Void Assault. Is that just you guys?
Yeah, that's me. Lise has been a part of it for a long time as well, helping with all the pressings. But it's a lot of times it's any of the bands that I've worked on that we've worked on in the past. Void Assault is our label, so we'll run all the releases through that, and I usually do all the art design and like we coordinate and get the distribution out together. But a lot of it is it's like the small run type of presses, like
yeah,
the live shit cassette Live Shit Volume 1 cassette from Fucked and Bound, and like the very first lathe cut pressings that we did, the 7 inches.
It's all the stuff that I think that you want to
yeah, all the
that
rare
you want to
stuff.
see is basically from a part of that.
Yeah, I have all that stuff on my want list on Discogs, just in case
Yeah.
somebody puts it up there. I'm like,
We're talking about doing another tape soon, or like 7 inch or something. We had a collection of demos. There's 8 B-sides from the last record, and then I think most of the first record got released, but there's a few live versions of songs, and then we have things that came out of the Find Out album that were B-sides that didn't get released. So we might do like another special edition, just like put volume 2 out for the cassette and do a special release like that. So we're still just looking at what kind of tracks we have right now and what we can put together. So it could be fun.
how did you two meet? Because this is because you guys were in He Whose Ox is Gored, and then you were Fucked and Bound, and now Filth is Eternal. Like, how did you guys meet?
Well, we were both working a shit job at Guitar Center together.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't all bad. Like, I mean, it was a good place. Like, a lot of, when you're a kid and you're trying to work a gig and like be around music instruments and be able that like it goes through phases. Like when we were working there, for most of it, you were able to tour. You could like hit the road and your friends would cover, and they would like be pretty cool about that. It's just, so it's really hard to find work that allows you to be immersed in music and tour. And that's always been something that, I think a lot of musicians try to figure it out. I mean, because some people don't have to worry about working. We've never been those people. We've had to be the people who have to work all the time and still try to figure out how the fuck we're going to go on the road.
Yeah. We both moved to town. We moved to Seattle to make music like around the same time. And we ended up working at Guitar Center. I always had a great time because it was meeting musicians at all levels and just like being in the craft, even if it's, it's kind of funny. It's a little bit of a sales job, corporate, whatever, but you at least get to talk to people all over the place. I met some of my favorite Seattle musicians just working that job.
Yeah.
And then Lisa and I, we started talking about, making music together, and it worked out. Like we jumped on projects and just started booking shows and going to town,
Yeah.
Yep.
When you guys were coming up, you just mentioned it. How was like the Seattle scene for you guys for this type of music that you do? Because you guys kind of dip in through like, like the hardcore, but but there's touches of that grunge that was always synonymous with Seattle. So what was it like kind of being a part of what was sort of that music scene like?
I mean, it was amazing. We both moved to town in 2008. So it was like kind of in the great time for Seattle. It was really like bursting with a lot of creativity, lots of bands. There was a venue right down the street from us that would just had local bands 7 nights a week, and it would be great touring bands. There were Comet Tavern. There was 5 or 6 different great venues you could walk to. There were bands from all over the place that would just come through. And, working at Guitar Center or whatever, we could like meet people that would come to town. I met like Hellhammer and shit. Like Mayhem came to town. Like I met Watain. It was insane. Like it was crazy. Just these incredible experiences. Lots of really. We met Sir Mix-a-Lot would come through. It was just ridiculous. Like the amount of talent that you just like encounter.
I feel like
living
everybody
in a big state.
if you're in Seattle, you eventually meet Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah. But we just had a great time like working with lots of people, and then we lived at a DIY music venue that was a warehouse, so we got to book our friends and help support the scene and just throw events for people, and really kind of just help build that up by putting our time in it. That was really, really fun, really rewarding. We still like to volunteer with that venue and the organizations, and Seattle's always had a really interesting, vibrant scene, and I've always felt really lucky to be a part of it. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right, getting into like the main question that that I have for this podcast. Um, the Record Store podcast is something where it's has a couple meetings. You know, when you go to a record store, it's a place of discovery, creativity. You meet other people. You can find records that you never even thought existed, even would
Yeah.
even think of existed. So what's your record store to you? Like a place where you can, a place of, that you feel comfortable in, you feel creativity, there's community and whatnot.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll start with Brian because I think my answer is a little bit more abstract. So,
Oh, perfect.
or maybe we should start. Let's start with me. Actually, I will start with the abstract answer, and then Brian can answer it more in a literal sense because you really do have an emotional sort of connection to being in a record store, and you kind of have
record stores.
It's like a ritual, and like, yeah, I get what you totally. For me, I thought about that a lot, and you said the record store could be anything. It could be a park, it could be a studio, it could be wherever you go, to find solace. It's your salve. So for me, it's the art store. Like if I walk into any sort of art store, small mom and pop, etc. Oh yeah, I gotcha. Um, yeah, if I don't know, just I feel really comfortable there. I feel excited, exhilarated. I feel like I might be a little bit of a collection junkie. Like I sort of buy things that maybe I don't need, but they bring me comfort. And it is a discovery thing. Like every time I go into an art store, I discover something else. And I went to school for art and for 2D and 3D, and there's just something. It just kind of feels like I'm, you know, I don't know. It's a familiar, and uh, it just it's inspiring and it brings me comfort. So that's my abstract answer to your question. Um, Now, but Brian's going to answer it more in a literal sense, no doubt.
I mean, yeah, like I'm a record store nerd myself. Like I used to work at a record store, and the one that I worked at is actually still one of my favorites. It's Zion's Gate
Oh, I
up
love
here in
Science
Seattle.
Gate.
Seattle has like amazing record stores.
Oh, I've definitely bought from that on like
Yeah.
Discogs.
Yeah. Well, and he's got a huge business for like all the online stuff. He's got like kind of a small store actually, but it's like merch to the rafters. There's like crazy rare t-shirts and CDs and tapes and all this like amazing like merch from stuff that I'd never seen in person, bands that I'd only heard of. It would be like this like something that you'd heard of one time that was this crazy thing, and he's got like the full discography and all of their merch laid out. Like yeah, Zion's Gate is an incredible store for that. But there's plenty of great examples here. There's also Spin Cycle up in Seattle is like a great little neighborhood shop that we go to a lot. Silver Platters, a bunch of our friends work at Silver Platters up here, and that's like a really like well stocked, awesome, like well rounded record store. Huge, you know. I Miss Everyday Music was like one of my favorite stores that we had a long time up here. That was really inspiring. They used to have live performances as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just go to the record store for that inspiration. It could be anything, but that's what it is for me. So
What is it about the record store that really connects with you, and like what makes a good record store experience?
that's a great question. Yeah, I think it's interesting, like the thing that makes like Zion's Gate stick out is, it's got stuff from everything, but you go in and you're kind of, it, it's divided almost into like, there's one part of the store that's like reggae records and like a bunch of like European techno. And then there's like a ton of like metal and black metal and like just extreme music. But then there's, CDs like all the way up like 20 feet on one wall. You have every medium. You've got physical merch, so you have apparel. You've got stuff that you've never seen in person, or you've got stuff that they've got that's just a classic that you could always grab. Like, oh, I don't have like Back in Black on vinyl. Why don't I have that? You can just grab stuff that's inspiring, whether it's like something that's classic in your life, or you can go in there and you can get a recommendation for something that you've never heard based off of something that you like already, and it's gonna hit. They have a great staff that's like really knowledgeable, that really kind of like, they've got a great community of people that go in there and like trade records. So you're always getting really cool releases that like, oh, like maybe this came from like my friend a couple doors down. I didn't know they had this or whatever, So I think that's a really good experience, but just, I think what really does it is it can be really meditative to just kind of dig through the crates, and kind of everything that you touch is just living, breathing creativity. It's the physical manifestation of that.
Yeah.
And like we're talking about record stores, because so much of like the modern experience, I think people kind of get something digitally and they don't really have that physical interaction with it. But like I grew up like reading the J cards and all of my cassettes with like a magnifying glass at night, or whatever it was like. And just the time that it takes someone to put together a physical release and organize all the artwork and write out all their special thank yous on the jacket, like that's important. I think it is. Like
Oh yeah.
every one of those things was an experience, to write it, to record it, to create it. It takes a team of people to manufacture it, deliver it. So it's like a big deal, I think, really preserving physical media and preserving what it means to people.
How does all that, just having that physical, looking at all that physical music when you're at the record store, and then just being able to go into a record store and have them, be experts, recommend stuff for you. How does that lend to, being a band and how you go about things?
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember when I worked at Zion's Gate for a minute. I didn't work there for like a long time, but I was like filling in for some friends and stuff. But I would watch the guys that were there. They were just there all day and they would just listen to records. So they were just absorbing what was coming through the door. If it was like something that someone just sold them in, they bought in or whatever, or like a new release from a new band, they're just like, let's check it out. Let's give it a chance. And I think that open-mindedness to really just experience something, I think a lot of people don't always have the time to give something a shot. So like a staff that's like willing to just put something on and check it out. And then when you come in, you go, oh, I like this or I like that. They go, you know what? I got just the right thing. That's like what you said. That really makes an experience. So I think it's important. Not everyone can be knowledgeable about everything. I don't know like
Right.
everything there is to know about all the genres, but like hopefully like we can ballpark it and there's some common ground somewhere, and like just it's really interesting to talk to people that are passionate about it to a point where they'll just give something a chance, even if it's a little outside of what someone else might listen to or know about. And it's just, I think that makes a better, more well-rounded person and experience. So it's fun.
I keep thinking about the difference too between going into a physical store and having that sort of an experiential versus going on onto Discord or something and getting on a channel and having people doing the exact same thing. Like, what is it about physically walking into a place and being able to interface with people in person? What they just somehow all of that always seems to feel a little bit more, I don't want to say magical,
Oh yeah.
but it kind of feels magical. You know what I
Right.
mean? For lack of a better word for it. Um, and maybe that's just because the nature of everything today moves so quickly, and you've got all these aggregators, and you have all these things that are just spewing fucking information at you 100 miles per hour. Maybe it's the speed at which we absorb information in person that makes the experiential process so powerful, is that we actually get to sit and fucking think about it for 2 seconds and just sit in the moment and listen to someone talk and listen to what they have to say and then get to, I don't know, just it's the discourse. It's that in-person, I don't know. I guess it's a feeling more than anything else.
Yeah.
Going back to your abstract answer, Lise, uh, what what is it about an art store that has lent served to your artistry as a musician, being in these bands?
Um, I think I have this desire to break away sometimes from music in order to be able to like reapproach it and I find that when I go to an art gallery or I go to a bookstore, or if I sort of just kind of go off the rails for a minute and come back on, I feel refreshed creatively. And I think that having something that kind of takes, I don't know, it's a refresher, you know. And then I also just think that when you're observing life in a different way, you kind of come back at it, back to the medium of normal choice. You come back to it, I don't know, you approach it a little more holistically, because I feel like it's really easy to get sort of tunnel vision um, as a creative in the medium that you do all the time. So someone just suggested, they're like, if you're a musician, you should go do this other thing. Take yourself out of it. You get writer's block,
Mm-hmm.
go for a run, whatever it is that you have to do to break yourself out of it and come back with fresh perspective. And I think that it lends to, I mean, if you haven't noticed, we're always trying to we always, we don't shy away from trying new things, making different sounds, having the records have a different flavor. Maybe that comes from the fact that, I don't know, I think you're the same. I just enjoy sort of collecting things from all different places and not only listening to one genre of music all the time, every day, all day, and then I go write a record that sounds like that. I try to create an amalgam of influence from everything, and art is again one of those places I go for that.
Yeah, I remember reading this book. It's about rest. I forget who wrote it and whatnot, but the gist of one of the parts is that all your great thinkers and creatives of like the past, like past centuries or whatnot, doesn't matter what, they a lot of them only worked like 4 hours a day. Like they would like wake up, I'm going to have breakfast, write for an hour, then go do something else, and then do 3 more hours, and then they rest for the rest of the day. And what rest means is like leisure, doing other things, and blah blah blah. And these are even people who are professors who might be in competition with another professor for some sort of grant and whatever, and they would still go on holiday and vacations and stuff like that in the middle of what they're doing, um because as humans we can only like sort of use this body of ours a limited amount of day for optimal creativity. So that's what comes to mind when you say you need to break away from music for a little while. Like it's almost like it's that like leisure part that's actually rest for you.
Totally. And I mean, I think I speak to this all the time, and we've talked about this in other interviews, but I really enjoy gaming. I think gaming is an incredible way to sort of rest the mind. Yes, you're engaged, but you're engaged in kind of a different way. It's fantasy, it's playful, it's creative, but it's not grueling, and I don't know, it's just, there's something, I guess at the end of the day I use gaming as a way to meditate. And then in-person tabletop gaming, it's social, it's a break from work, because it's amongst friends and your peers. So I'm a huge advocate for gaming. I think that it does an incredible thing for people, and you'll always hear me out there shouting, you should game more to people in general. But yeah, and Brian, I mean, you play some games. You like?
Oh yeah, I'm learning chess right now.
Oh yeah, you're all about
I'm
chess right
like
now.
I'm not great at it, but I'm playing a lot of chess. I'm like learning a lot of strategy, and it's really good for like it opens your mind. You got a
Yeah.
whole world in 64 squares, and it's like something I think about like the guitar and like making art. In a certain sense, there's patterns when you're putting riffs and chord progressions together, and like the spatial thing with chess is like kind of the similar thing. Like certain things move in certain patterns, certain chords move in certain patterns. So it's like you need something that kind of challenges like not how you put music together, but how your mind interprets and works with space. Um,
Yeah.
so things like that. When I used to work in a warehouse doing a physical job, I would do a physical job all day and it would get my body wired. And then I would come home and my mind would make the art and I'd be happy to do that. And now I work where it's a lot more like writing. It's a little bit more technical. I do like tech support stuff and you got to be really engaged. And then sometimes you're too wiped out to make the art, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just finding that balance of like, what does the body do? What does the mind do? How do you train both and retain the creativity when you can, you know?
Yeah, and with like the gaming, it's like it's like a really good way of engaging in many ways, but there's not necessarily an obligation there that you
Yeah.
have, like expectations.
Unless
Where
you're in a guild. And like me, like this nerd, if you're in a guild like me, then yeah, you might have an obligation to show the
High
fuck up
stakes.
once in a while.
High stakes.
high stakes, but like but being a musician, there's almost still like I can I can assume like there's a little bit of an obligation that you like have to continue like with making music, or at least keeping your chops up, recording music, getting ready for tour, all of that. That can be a little bit like that. Whereas
Yeah.
so you have those things to other things to engage your mind, where you don't really have the obligations, so you can have a little bit more fun with it. You can have fun with the music, but there's always that business side of the music that can kind of bum you out a little bit.
I think it's like, I mean, that it's a great point, and I think that you have to find ways to balance it out. So it's like, you go on tour and you join bands and you play, these awesome tours, these bands that maybe you grew up loving, and it's they're legends and you love them, and it's like, what the fuck is happening right now? Those moments are incredible, but they are, it is work. I mean, being on the road is work. People say it all the time. It's not vacation, it's work. But I think that you balance it out. Like, we always try to make a point to rally our friends, like local. I think it's really important to support your local scene and, play with your friends and do shows. And like, we try to do fundraisers. And I don't know, you have to balance it out with stuff that like fucking matters too. And so it's not just all like the business grind. It needs to be like, the love side of grind, like with your friends.
Right.
So yeah.
Going back to the bands, when it comes to all the bands you guys have been in together, going from Hughes Ox's Gourd to Fucked and Bound to Filth is Eternal, what are some things that you feel like you've like definitely like gotten better at, things that have progressed music wise, through that sort of journey?
I'm just laughing because when I started all my projects, just I've talked about this with other people, but deathly shy. I almost wish I still had photos, but I would like hide. Like, there are people who maybe followed us for a little while, and they bring it up every once in a while. But I used to like cover myself. You could barely see. I'd be like hooded, like you couldn't even see me because I'm hiding. So one thing for sure that I think has maybe changed over the years is just maybe growing a little confidence. And I'm still have moments, when you're a shy kid, you're kind of an eternal shy kid. But I feel like I've been able to break through sometimes with that. But Brian, what do you think?
Definitely over time, I think that we've learned how to work together really well, as far as like be creative on a lot of different levels. Like, Lise used to do, synth and atmospherics in Hughes Ox's Gourd and was fantastic at that. It was amazing. Lise developed all of these like incredible vibes, and then you got to apply that to different bands and, work with other projects too. And then you took over on vocals and developed that. Then we started doing, I think we learned how to like really run a band together with that project. And then by the time we did Fucked and Bound, it was a lot of just like, we learned lessons about the crew we wanted to work with and how we wanted to manage the type of technicality we wanted to show in the music, and how to be better at our instruments, and how to balance some of the time demands of all of that. And we got really good at learning how to tour. We were very DIY. We were always DIY. We booked the majority of our own tours and shows for the last 15 years. We've printed the majority of our own merch. We've screen printed it physically for the last 15 years. We've learned how to like do that and kind of develop our aesthetic, you know, and like work with people that we trust and care about and build like, you know, mutually beneficial relationships and try and just like invest in our community. And
yeah, I think it's just like finding like we keep coming back to it, just finding balance. You learn that over time. You don't know, like in the very beginning, you know, there's tons of things you learn, and there's a lot of things you do wrong, and that's how you learn how to do it right the next time. But really, it's just about finding balance. And that's one of the hardest things to do. If you're not like someone who's set up like where you know, if you have to work a job, let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
You have to not one of those people who can just go out and someone's taking care of you. And you have to actually like kind of pave your own way. You know, you have to find a way to balance all of that, you know, because it is a lot of work. You're doing all the work, you know, you're making the merch, you're working the job, you're figuring out how the hell you're going to, you know, pay for gas on the road. But fortunately, it is all made easier when, you know, you build community, and it's really just about building family out there. If you've got family in every state and major cities, and you're all helping each other, and you know, when they come through, you're helping them, and when you come through, they're helping you.
Yeah.
I mean, you do your best to just help people, and I don't know, it all just kind of works out in the end. I mean, that's the balance anyway.
No, what's funny is like when we were talking about kind of, you know, being shy.
Yeah.
I really had no idea what this band looked like until like just before this new album. I'm like, oh, this is what I was like, this is what this band looks like.
Right, because it's like also social media I have such a fucking love-hate relationship with it. Like I get it. I understand the point of it. Why we you know, how the hell else is anyone going to know what you're doing, who you are, like what they should care about, what you care about. Like I've really personally just wrestled with it.
Right.
I've deleted my accounts multiple times. Like I mean, to the point where people are like, you're insane. Like how many times are you going to delete your account? I think it's a kind of a blessing and a curse, but you can, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to put yourself fucking out there in a very visible way. Maybe it's easy for some people, and great on them, you know, for that. But Eternal Shy, get back to your point, it's really hard to like put your face on there or even express your thoughts about something all the time. I mean, there's just the amount of fucking criticism you're up against these days because everyone has access, everyone's a critic. It is so challenging. It can be challenging unless you have, and you go through waves where you have thick skin. You're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do what I do. I'm an artist. I'm just going to put it out there. If people hate it, cool, whatever. And then the next day you're like, everybody, what they fucking hate? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I think that emotional roller coaster probably resonates with more people than even they're willing to admit.
Yeah. And then with, you know, certain, you know, people, like whenever they see, you know, like a woman in the band or non-binary people in the band doing all that, then that sort of thing on social media,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
comes up and you're like, ugh.
Someone said never go to the comment section and like lamb goat.
Never read the comments.
Because like apparently like that's a thing. Like I finally like checked in a couple of times and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
This is worse than Fox. Well, maybe it's the same. It's like a Fox News comment section. Like it is fucking crazy in there. I don't even understand. And what's crazy about it is the writers are writing about music that like is great. They're writing about bands that like most people care about, that they love. And then the comments are just like fucking shitting on everything. And I think that's the point. Yeah. It's literally everyone's a troll and they're just trolling each other.
Well, some people, their favorite way to show that they love a band is to shit on them.
Yeah, that's true.
I love this band so much, but this new album just fucking sucks. Like, you know, you'll hear people say stuff.
I think like, it does. That entire comment thread seems like a cosmic joke.
It's so funny.
It's just, but no, yeah, if you treat it like that, I think it's fine. But
okay, you know, get into the newest album, find out like what, you know, what was sort of your goal going into this album?
You got a goal? What was your goal?
I mean, I think that The idea was just to do something a little bit different. Some of it by choice, some of it, not by choice. um, I think,
I have the
you know, I
records right
think
here.
I think we just played around in the sandbox quite a bit. I think we didn't overthink stuff. I think we, just sort of created what was coming out at the time, and then we just tried to figure out, listen back to it, and refine it a little bit. We had a little bit of fun, maybe whereas before we might have been a little bit more, you know, what would you say? Not tight. That's not the word I'm looking for, but
Like this one is a little bit more fun. We just allowed
it's more
ourselves
genre
to,
fluid. I
yeah.
think there's a lot more fluidity with genres in this one. You can kind of hear a little of everything, whereas before maybe it was a little bit more streamlined in that sense. And then the vocals are definitely quite different than they had been in records past, um, and that was by both choice and necessity. So yeah.
Well, what's sort of like the process you guys, go through when, creating songs?
It kind of starts with you in your bedroom, like you in a small room, locked door, guitar, 4 a.m,
Oh yeah.
writing stuff. Like he's just like very prolific. He has you never stop writing, and then it's eventually something will start to become a little bit more formulated, and then you bring it to the room, and then that's when everybody kind of works on their piece of it.
Yeah. Usually try and put the bones together and then just flush it out. And, we talk about stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work. And, I'll usually like just kick songs out and we'll try it. And it's like, maybe this idea is, oh, this is like, insect warfare and like gin blossoms or, whatever. Just kind of mashing things together. I always like to like think about my favorite pop riffs, but then like, my favorite like grind or power violence bands or something like, what if Weekend Nachos was covering Journey? Who knows? Whatever. But just have fun with like trying to. I like to write like a lot of songs for these projects. Like if it's more punk, I want to try a lot of different ideas. And there's so many like fun heavy bands and just fun bands that we've been able to like see and work with over the years that it's like I want to try all of these different kinds of ideas musically. Maybe this one works really well for us. Maybe we do this a couple times. Maybe we try something at least once. But, just there's so much cool music out there. I want to try these ideas and see how they fit in with what we're doing. And I want to learn new techniques on my instruments and, work with our members. We've had, a few different members in the lineups and things like that. And everyone always has like their own ideas. It's cool. Like, learning people's influences as they develop as members and as we grow together as lineups and stuff like that. So I try and write some ideas and get feedback from people, see what everyone's listening to, and then just kind of play to people's strengths when we go to write.
Yeah.
Whether it's your audience listening, on their headphones from CD or digitally, or if they're catching you guys live. I've seen pictures of live, and Lisa's just animal on stage now. Like, talk about shy. I'm like, okay, she's come out
I don't
already.
know who that person is, but they yeah, it's weird for sure.
But what do you hope your audience gets out of your music and your live performances?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think I feel like one thing I notice in the audience, like if I'm in the audience and I'm watching a band, you know, it's like a crazy beat down part. Everyone's just losing their shit, or maybe it's it's mince beat and everyone's dancing and like I don't know. Like every band kind of brings their energy, right? There's something there. Like um, I think I try to bring a little bit of theater to what we do, and I notice the crowd tends to. It's more like they're watching. I don't know how to explain it really. I guess it's almost like theater. Let's just say it feels more like theater than maybe a show where you go to and you're there to dance, or you're there to like mosh, or there's moshing, it happens, but maybe that's what maybe differentiates us a little tiny bit from from maybe some of the other bands that are maybe similar.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about like what I want people to get out of it, like I try and make aggressive music because I have aggressive feelings, and it's just a really good outlet. And I just put it out there because I play stuff that I think, oh, this is cool. This is a cool riff. Like, it really like gets that feel of like what's motivating me. And I just like to share that with people. I like to think that like heavy music is in general pretty cathartic for people. And especially like, modern times, there's a lot of stress going around. So I like to just put out a lot of energy and let people work it out. So just like to share that with people. And it's good to see community. And like, I hope that people get that, we want to make heavy music, but it's for everyone. We want to make music in a safe space for people where you can be who you are. And it's not just like, like you said earlier, like kind of a meathead thing, or it's not just like tough guy stuff all the time. That's great, and everyone's got their place, but it's like we want to make stuff for everyone to have an experience, find some people, work it out a little bit.
And I just want to put on a play, and everyone's invited. Thespians and those affected by thespians.
Such an art kid.
Right. I'm nerd through and through.
Totally.
When you guys are on stage, what do you want to get out of the experience personally?
Go ahead.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I just want to play the shit right.
That's true.
I'm a big tone nerd. I like to play hard, play loud. I like to turn my amp fucking all the way up. I like to play.
And they always tell them to turn it way back down.
Until I like to play so fucking hard, parts of my guitar are coming apart. I like to break shit. My fucking pedals are always coming apart.
You like to jump into drum kits.
Energy. Oh yeah, I get thrown through drum kits. Yeah, I mean, some drummers
like this fucking guy, man.
Yeah. No, it's just like it's a thing. I like it's the part where I'm allowed to be an animal. We're lying to ourselves if we say we're not. But that's the time of day where you get to bark at the moon, baby. You just want to get it out. You just want to let it out. So
I see those. Yeah, I see those pictures. There's even a T-shirt with Lisa on it that has
the scream. I love that one. That was from 510 Grind. That was such a vicious set. That was really fun.
Yeah.
I bought one because I had to get one. I was like, yo, I have to get that one.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I don't know. I think like for me, I kind of, I don't want to say black out, but that's about the closest thing I could say to it. But it's that even that would be kind of dismissive of it because it's more fluid than that. I think you go in between feeling so more completely engaged in something than you maybe are with anything in your whole life to complete and total disassociation. And I don't know how you can ride those two waves at the same time, but if that I could express what that feels like, that's what it feels like to me. It's just, and that it's almost like a black hole. Like everything is leading to some singularity that you can't comprehend because your brain's too small. That's what being in that moment is like. And it wouldn't happen without the connectivity to everybody, the band on stage, everybody together in that moment. You're all trying to make that shit sound right. The people in the audience are staring. They have expectations. They're hopefully enjoying themselves. I mean, the whole thing is just insanity, really, when you really want to poke at it. But but it's an insanity that I can't walk away from. I love it too much.
That's right.
Oh yeah. To kind of wind things down. This is something I always love to ask people. What's like a piece of advice that no matter what the person listening to, whatever avenue that they're in, a piece of advice from your journey as people or musicians that you could, share with us that could be applied to anybody?
I'd say one of the most important things I've learned is be true to yourself. Like what you like. Don't think of the things that you like as guilty pleasures. You can have guilty pleasures, but really think about believing in what you do. there's a lot of the modern world where there's irony blanketed over everything, or it's easy to be dismissive of stuff if we get a little bit of criticism or critique. But I'll tell you, I've fallen down, I've failed, I've screwed shit up, I've made mistakes in front of lots of people. But I stick with this process because I love it, and it's a process. It's not like any one thing is the end of it. It's a whole life journey, and I just want to express how much that's affected the process. Is just learning that it's an ongoing thing, and that it's okay to make mistakes, and you don't have to be cool. You can do whatever you want. The coolest thing in the world is just doing what you love and believing in it, and just don't take shit about it. Just have fun.
Yeah, it's just that easy.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, just listen to your own voice.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do. It's really easy to have self-doubt, and you're constantly combating that. I think most artists would be lying if they said they weren't. But just try to listen to your own voice, try to have faith in your own vision and what you're doing. And I think the best advice is don't lose sight of having fun. Because if you're not having fun with what you're doing, got to have a little bit of fun. There's got to be some enjoyment out of what it is. You're going to get to the end of it, and you're going to look back and you realize you weren't living in enough of those moments. If you're only just trying to get from point to point all the time, you're missing what this is all about. Try to really just sort of nestle into those moments and those experiences. That's the difference between living and just doing.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds great. It's been great. It's been great talking with you, Lise and Brian. Filth is Eternal. Find out the new album is out now. Plug your socials or anything else you want to plug.
Sure. Yeah. Just this tour with Darkest Hour. They are super wonderful human beings. They got a really kick-ass record out right now. Please go check out them. Go check out I Am, Samnuri. And we'd love to see you on the road if you can make it. The shows are posted on our Instagram, especially, and other social media channels. Filth is Eternal.
Follow us on Instagram at Filth is Eternal. Hit us up on TikTok at Filth is Eternal. Come see us at a show. We'll see you in Detroit.
That's right. Oh yeah, we'll try. We're gonna bring you some weird shit.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you guys. I'm excited that you're coming to Detroit. It's been great.
That's right.
And thank you for having us. I think it's really cool that you're doing this, and what a fun question to be asking people, because like you said, record stores are a really meaningful place for people, and that in-person discovery process. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening to the Record Store Podcast, presented by Fresh is the Word. This podcast is streaming online on all platforms. For more information on the Record Store Podcast, please visit freshestheword.xyz. Follow me on all social medias at KFreshDetroit. All my projects, including this podcast, are all a labor of love. So please share the links to this podcast and rate and review it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thanks for listening, goodbye, and good night.